Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is John with Tommy's Top Picks here to bring you your weekly flesh and blood market update. Let's get into it. Yeah, so this week it's actually kind of quiet. I don't know why I was just so hyped about it. I don't know. I think it's interesting. We got the news about the print run drops. It had minimal impact on the market besides like the day after. Immediately, there was a little bit of a shocker for mostly Crucible. But what we're looking at this time is a pretty calm market. So I'm guessing this is following the old adage that you see in financial markets, which is buy the rumor, sell the news. Typically, people speculate on the rumor, which I think is, maybe what all that activity was the past few weeks. And then as you get into it and you get the real news, you either sell or in this case, I think people are holding, not really moving product as much. So yeah. Let's dive into the numbers and take a look what we got. ARC Unlimited boxes are up 11.63% to 144, a new all-time high. Probably not related to the print run, just about supply. As we've seen through the past few weeks, it's just been ticking up, and we just hit a new high. Expect a retrace, much like this one, 139 down to 124, then back up to 129, then it continued on. We will find out when we settle out. Hopefully the charts will give us an indication of the time frame that we can expect to settle out. And as that occurs, as it follows the old patterns, I will point that out. But there's no guarantee we get that, just because the nature of basically logarithmic growth of it's exponential growth of the audience, which I do believe is still happening, and then the lack of in additional supply being added to the market. So you have this non-typical J curve as opposed to like an S curve, which is usually the adoption curve. The adoption curve looks like a J curve because supply can't be increased to meet demand. It absolutely just shrinks, right? And that's the nature of cards and why it's such an interesting investment. More on that later. Honorable mention to Monarch Unlimited, negative 4.84%. I guess it's dishonorable mention. I don't know. Down 4.8% to 59 from 62. Nothing really crazy. It was 59 for months, for a month before it was 62. So it just topped up very briefly and came back to where it seems to be nice and happy being. It just likes to settle at 59. Tales of Aria up 5.08% to $62. We have seen it at this price before. I swear before I started this video, it was down at 42, but I cannot find the listing. I swear I saw it. But I think it might have been either a mistake on my part, or it was like briefly listed and then pulled down, like someone accidentally put it up and then took it down. I'm not sure. I swear I saw it though. Anyways, 62, right in range, a little bit higher than has been, but nothing crazy. We've seen 62 in the past. So we're just kind of floating in that same area that Tales of Aria likes to float in. WTR down, another dishonorable mention, I suppose. I don't like calling it dishonorable. Whatever. Honorable mention, negative 4%. 384 from 400. Nothing really crazy there. Might present an ARB opportunity, though. We'll look at the charts on that. That might give us a little bit of an ARB by case, sell the boxes. It looks like it. Let's just look at the charts. ARC is up 17.8%. This is the unlimited cases to 589 from 500. That's a big jump. Fully expect that to retrace. Maybe this is a moment where if you have extra product, you put it out on the market and see if people bite at this price or higher, because I think we're in a hype mode on ARC, as indicated by both the box and the case prices doing the same thing, jumping quite a bit. We'll see. It will probably cool off at some point. Again, like I said, we'll look at the charts to try to get an idea of when it's going to level out, but it's not happening yet. We're still climbing. So interesting stuff. Monarch down 4.18% to 229 from 239. Again, not a real big deal. Just kind of in the same range it's been in. Floating. On to first edition. Boxes. Only thing that's worth noting is Monarch did cool off again. We did expect that. We said it'd go up and come down, go up, come down. I do think this is the new plateau. This will give us an example to look at Mon first edition boxes, give you a sense of what it looks like when it finds a settled new high. Moving on to the cases, because nothing else actually really moved that much. First edition cases of Cru down 7.28%. Now again, I brought this up a couple weeks ago, but it's worth repeating. This is list price, not sold price, not where things are. So you have to take it with a big grain of salt. When it jumps up to this 4,000, I don't think anyone bought one at this price, right? It was just listed at this price as the next closest to buy. Then people came in and put it lower and put it lower to try to find that equilibrium between supply and demand. And what we're seeing is that the demand isn't at 4,000, isn't at 3,775. Maybe it's at 3,500. We'll find out next week. If we see this disappear and it hops back up to here or here, that means this has gotten eaten up. People have bought it. Considering the print run numbers, it would not shock me at all because it was very, very low. And I did want to point that out. Couple other things that are worth pointing out that I threw in here. You'll note these are no longer red because we actually have a listing for both an ARC first edition case at 11,500, which happened last week, and then we got a WTR case at 40,000. I think that's based on the news of Rudy selling it at 38,500. So I think people took that as a market sign and said, hell, if I can sell mine for 40,000, I'll do it, right? That's pretty good. $10,000 a box, that's not bad. Pretty interesting premium on a case. There's probably not many left in the world at all. So it's the kind of thing where, it will be valued and it will probably continue to go up because it will continue to be hard to come by. You're not going to get an ARB opportunity on that product probably ever again at this point, just because of the nature of how these things disappear. Did want to point out a few things in the patterns. So we have this chart from LSS, and I pulled some numbers together. Let me see if I can view this. Yeah. All right. So this is interesting because it doesn't tell us everything we want to know, but it tells us some things. So we have first edition runs, and then we have unlimited runs. So the ratios here, this is a 6.3% of the total, right, between the two. So only 6% here. This one's 8.5%. So basically they're ramping first versus the amount printed for unlimited. Now, granted, remember WTR, we had the special giveaway, or not giveaway, the special events, which they probably planned for and printed for. So that this is probably an aberration in data, but it's data nonetheless, and we need to take it into consideration. Again, this is 8.5% for this 16,700 boxes is 8.5% of the total print run of ARC. On Cru, which is 37,500, this is 23%. So much smaller unlimited run. Now, if you recall, the word was that they did not intend to do unlimited at all initially. They were just going to do first, and that was it, which is kind of weird because you think that's how they ended up going with 2.0, but why did they end up doing it? The demand spiked at Cru, if you recall. That's where money went crazy on this whole product and into Mon, and so they did it out of demand for the product. When that happened, it changed the dynamic and future of Flesh and Blood forever, and then we get into these crazy print runs. So just thinking about it a little bit, if you go ahead and take this number, the 125, and divide it by, divide it by 23%, right? 0.23. Yeah, that's another 500,000. So if it follows the same model as Cru, which I don't think it did, it's 500,000 boxes. Now, if you go by 8.5% instead, so 0.85, then it's 147,000 boxes. No, that's not right. That's not right. No, it's a million boxes. Jesus. Good God. Either way, it's ugly. We don't want to see these ratios on these, because if we do, it's a ridiculous sum. I'm hoping it's more 1-to-1, probably more 1-to-1 with Ellie, maybe less. Maybe they cut it. Maybe Unlimited got cut back a lot. Because you know how we have a hard time sometimes finding certain Tales of Aria product in Unlimited because there's just not that many boxes out there. And then, of course, Everfest is 0 for now. They have them in a warehouse. There's a little asterisk on this chart from the site. And so if we say this is 0, maybe this is half, and this is 1-to-1, like 125, 50. We could do that. We could get away with that. I think that's a reasonable amount for the market, even if it was a little higher than that ratio. I think we're in an okay spot. We can see that Mon is starting to run out on certain cards, certain boxes. Things are rising, right? So that's finally happening after this kerfuffle of a situation, which was trust breaking. They have since restored the trust with 2.0, done a very good job of it. But it was a moment in the history of Flesh and Blood that changed the way the market, the collectors, everyone paid attention to what was going on very drastically. So now we're swinging the other way on the pendulum. You can say as that crashed, which was probably around here, like between Tales and Everfest, as that crashed, that confidence crashed, it swung to very, 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 very cheap cards. Now we're swinging the other way where collectors are coming in buying a ton of stuff, and like regular Majestics, that the Codex is $40. Was it Surgical Extraction, which will always have that story. It doesn't make sense for it to be as expensive as it is, but it is like 60 or 40. I don't know what it is today, but it was around that price. Just crazy different market compared to these times. And I think it will go too far that way and we'll have to switch again. They'll probably get smart about it, maybe release faster waves or do something of that sort. I will say Uprising at distro cost is still incredibly cheap. So I have a feeling, and it's constantly pushing on map and below, right? Like, look, we're at 310 here, and Outsiders is at 300. So these are below map prices, these two. That says that what's happened is 2.0 has successfully gotten the right number in the market because the prices held up, the individual cards held up, but then it's slowly leaking down afterwards. Now, if we follow like the Magic model and what that looks like, that's normal. You see that fall off, and then in a 3-year time frame or so, it starts to tick back up again. Monarch was not 3 years ago. It was only 2, I believe. I could be wrong. Was it? Yeah, no, 21. Yeah, that's right. It was only 2 years ago. And it's already ticking back up. So what this number was as whole is probably what they should target in ratio to player base. You have to look at how many active players there are. Should be what they target for Uprising, Dynasty, and Outsiders, give or take, now that they know that this is starting to tick up. How they could have known that before these print runs, they couldn't have, right? They just couldn't have. So they're going to get it wrong. It's going to swing one way and it's going to swing the other. Swing one, that's how the pendulum works of business, especially with a long lead time on printing. But that is where it is. So let's go ahead and jump into the charts. I thought that was interesting data. I wanted to look at it and see what that looked like, and I thought it was important to point out. One thing, before we get too far, the macro thing that I like to talk about, the Fed last week basically said that they do expect a recession in the later half of this year and that they expect it to be a mild recession. So they're looking at another 1 to 2 quarter negative, which is technically all it takes to get a recession, and then probably not much after that. Based on the financial data I'm seeing, not in the card space, I can agree with that. Generally speaking, employment's still holding up, even though it is cooling off. Inflation is cooling off, which is what they want. Interest rates are still a bit of a struggle, but not terrible. I'm seeing mortgage interest rates, they dropped again. I think it was this month. House sales are starting to pick up in spring as they do. So if you start to take all these different indicators in whole, you see that the economy is still hungry, but it's slowing down. It's not hyper hungry like it has been, which is a good sign for the health of the economy. If we get a recession, it's very short. That would probably be a good thing. We'd have that short recession we had before that everyone's like, it is, and whatever. And then we'll have another short one, which of course everyone will argue, it is, and blah, blah, whatever. And point being that either way, they're both minor dips in the market that can slow things down probably in a healthy way and hopefully not lose too many jobs or cause too much unemployment or anything like that. But cool off some of this crazy demand we've been seeing. And I will say it has been reported by the Fed itself. It did the research and found in conclusion that something like 63 to 70% of inflation was driven by price gouging. I don't think they use that term, but that's how I'm going to call it. Essentially, organizations realizing that with the excuse of inflation being high, they were able to charge more than they needed to, than their inputs. And it was a pretty decent ratio. That's why they came up with that number, that they were able to essentially charge more. So they did, not because they had to, not because their inputs. That's why there's record profits over the past few quarters. And so that inflation was mostly artificially derived in the smokescreen and cover of confusion within economics. So thought that was interesting, worth noting and talking about. Let's jump into the charts. All right, WTR Unlimited, we are. So we're just chilling out. We got up here. We're cooling off now. We'll see. I still think this is our plateau. This was trying to push it to another plateau. We calm down here and just chill out. It's okay. If we spike back up to this 400 range, I'm okay with that too, because it's not a bad jump, right? It's a $40 jump from here to that 400 range, and we can just settle right in here. Again, what we're looking at is this 375, because that was the top back here both times before it started to climb again. If we stay above that 375, we're probably in business for a 400 kind of settling area, maybe even higher depending on supply demand, obviously, all those things. Yeah, minor ARB opportunity here. Let's see, what is it? $7, $6. $7, yeah. $7 ARB opportunity on the cases versus the boxes. So buy a case, get 4 times 7, that's your profit. Obviously, excluding shipping, taxes, and the rest. Arcane Rising, yeah, this chart's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. You do not want to see things climb that fast. We said it jumped crazy. It's going to come back hard. That's what happens when charts climb this fast. So we'll just have to see how this plays out. I have a feeling we will see a pullback. The question is, does it go below this 519 level, or does it settle somewhere higher, which would be awesome. We'd be at a new phase, again, a new step up. Maybe it repeats this pattern, kind of goes up, curves over, finds a settling point, goes up, curves over. That might be nice. I don't want to hold my breath for that. We will play with it as it happens and talk about it as we see it. Moving on, Cru Unlimited. Yeah, this is a janky chart. Look at that. Stepped up, cooled off, found a top, stepped up, cooling off. Let's see what happens. No ARB opportunity here. This is a minor premium. They're basically just moving in tandem because it's so liquid right now, I imagine. Monarch moving over and around, starting to cool off. This is the Unlimited. I would imagine this is basically post Dusk Till Dawn hype, chill out. Market's like, oh yeah, wait, there's other things out there to buy. We do have an ARB opportunity of $2. Not much, not really worth considering. Tales of Aria. Yeah, it's kind of flat. Drop down flat, and not much else is going on with this. We do have an ARB opportunity of, there we go, yeah, $3, not worth anything. All right, moving on to first edition. This is going to be a quiet and boring one as well. We do have the jump up to the new price range of 40,000. We had 38.5 and then 40 because that's what's listed. And then, of course, no ARB opportunity. Like I said, you'll never see that again, considering that is probably going to stay as the market price for the cases. And again, these are list prices, so they're probably not selling quite this high. I think the last one I saw sold was 42. So keep that in mind. ARC, same thing, jumped up crazy. Now we have a new price point. No ARB, won't have an ARB. I'm glad that actually happened because it was making this look like an ARB opportunity, even though we talked about how it isn't, and this is artificial. I'd hate for someone to get confused, see it, and just be like, oh yeah, it's amazing. It's not. It's going to stay in a premium because it's a rare product that has disappeared. Cru, now this is an interesting one. It's cooling off back down as we talked about, and no ARB. Well, maybe minor ARB, 75 and 85. $10 ARB. If you can get a case and split it, you can get $10 per. That's not worth it. Monarch moving up to the right. It is chilling out. We're getting a new plateau. We'll see where it settles. I think it will settle probably around here. Keep moving sideways. Again, this is the first edition boxes, so this is just the market realizing that, you know, it is somewhat rare of a product and it's something worth having when we go into the next set. I know we did get a comment from Salty Whale on one of the last videos we did. I think it was the Fab Watch, where we were talking about Monarch being sold in the individual cards and kind of like running out. And he commented that, yeah, he'd been buying stuff for a long, long time, for years, like years and years and years, not necessarily in the last month or so. And that now the market's finally catching up to what he'd been speculating for a while. And he mentioned something about Tales of Aria, how he thought you'd see something similar there. So maybe that's a hint. I don't know. Take it what you will. He did post it on a public forum, so I'm sharing it with you guys. So if it's one of those things that inspires you to look at Tales of Aria as a potential place to buy, I get it. Eventually it will run out. It does have a lot of product, as we talked about when we looked at the supply. But I think the reality is it will end up running out maybe a little bit quicker than Monarch, just because that was this new surge of players at that era. That's when I came in. That's when Tommy came in. And so from there, the base has grown a lot, especially recently. So that will decrease the volume or the supply at a kind of an exponential adoption curve rate. And so what ends up happening is you see it shrink down, disappear, and then you get those crazy jumps. Speaking of Tales of Aria, look at the crazy jump. Also, first edition seems to be easier to get a hold of. There is an ARB opportunity here. I can't, like, a couple bucks. Yeah, a couple bucks. Yeah, 275 or 225. Everfest moving on up and to the right and steady. I do worry about when Unlimited comes out for this. I think it will drop hard. If it comes out, I'm hoping they just say we lit that pile of Everfest Unlimited on fire. That would be lovely. There is a ARB opportunity in Uprising. It's only $1, so not really worth considering. Most of this isn't really worth talking about because it's all basically hanging around map or lower, honestly. And that is worth noting. I'm actually surprised how often these are dropping below map, but it is happening with the recent products, Uprising, Dynasty, and Outsiders. So we'll see how that plays out over the long run. This will give us a new pattern for 2.0. Let's look real quick. So we have our dip, steady drop and rise, and then I just want to see how 2.0 chart comparison, slow curve, probably anomalous data, and then on the uptrend, and then Outsiders is too new. We did get the pre-release hype and then dropping down like a cliff. Interesting. There's almost $11 ARB opportunity on Outsiders. That's actually not bad at those prices. Anyways, I hope you guys like the content. If you do, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Point me in the direction of things you think I should look at. And yeah, I hope you're out there cracking packs, enjoying this hobby that we love. And until next time, have a good one.